All right, welcome back, guys. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we're going to be doing another gunsmithing video for you. This one's pretty simple, pretty straightforward type of thing to deal with, and that's getting lead out of your revolvers. A lot of us shoot cast bullets in our various revolvers that we use, and depending on certain circumstances, whether it be the volume of shooting that you're dealing with or the composition or size of the cast bullets maybe being slightly incorrect, you can get a phenomenon known as leading, and basically you get lead deposits in the forcing cone, sometimes even in the cylinders, and then also in the barrel, of course, you'll get lead buildup. There's a couple of ways to combat that and that we're going to discuss. And I do want to mention there's also a lot of really good programs at SDI that cover these types of things. They're a group of people that we work with on a regular basis when it comes to higher education in the gun world. They offer some great courses, so if there's something you want to look into a little bit further than just this knowledge of this, the scope of this video, they're definitely worth looking into for that type of stuff. There's a couple of ways that you can deal with leading. Shooter's Choice makes a product called Lead Remover. It comes in a little bottle like this. We can go over that a little bit. It's pretty straightforward, really. With Lead Remover, you're basically just going to saturate a patch. We'll go ahead and do, since we have 3 revolvers here, we'll go ahead and clean all 3 of them and just use slightly different methods. I'm going to run the lead remover on my Model 10 right here. This is a heavy barrel model. What we'll do, we'll just grab a patch right here. I like to keep a pair of scissors on standby. We're just going to cut a patch in half right here. You could pre-cut them, but I'm lazy. All right. Take the lead remover there. Now guys, do not spill this stuff on your bench. It's a real nightmare. Now the only thing about running a lead remover over the Lewis de-leader, which we're going to talk about in a moment, is, you know, it is pretty caustic. It's got a rather obnoxious smell. Once the lead dissolves in the bore, basically the compound inside of this jar will essentially dissolve lead. Okay, and which is cool. You know, it's a good way to you know, clean all the lead out, but you are getting dissolved lead, which kind of takes on a almost a mercury type approach. You know, it'll absorb into your skin, and that's definitely not good. So we're going to put some of this lead remover just in the cylinders, and then I'm going to put some down the barrel here. Just saturate the barrel. Okay, pretty simple right there. We're just going to saturate that barrel with lead remover. We got a pretty good bit on there. All right, now what we'll do is we'll just let this sit for a little while. I'm going to put this gun to the side, and believe me, we're going to cap off this because you do not want this stuff going everywhere on your bench, okay? We're going to set the lead remover aside. Grab yourself a rag. If you got any lead remover on the counter, wipe it down, get it off the counter. We're going to let the lead remover from Shooter's Choice do its job right there on the Model 10. Now we're going to discuss a little bit less obtrusive way to get lead out, and that's the Lewis lead remover. This tool's been around for quite some time. This tool's available through Brownells, great group of people there, and they always have some specialty tools. The bores that we're running on these revolvers here are 357 to 9. I do have a 9mm revolver, as well as a Performance Center 38 Special revolver that we're going to get the lead out. Okay, so the Lewis lead remover, really easy little tool. I'll quickly go over it here. Okay, you've basically got a T-handle, and you've got these little like brass pipe screens. They look kind of like this, real simple. You're going to take these little pipe screens, and there's 2 different attachments. This thing is mainly intended for revolver use, but you can clean a handgun barrel. You know, if you shoot cast bullets through your regular, you know, pistol or whatever, you can certainly use this to clean a pistol barrel. The same exact type of thing, no problem. But we're going to go over that. This is actually a device that helps you clean the forcing cone on your revolver. And the way you accomplish that, this is a much more, in my opinion, slightly better way of cleaning the lead out of a revolver than using something like the lead removing compound that we talked about earlier there. You're going to take the forcing cone cleaning tool, and you're going to basically just kind of thread the screen on there, kind of like this. And what's going to happen is when I pull this through, it's going to kind of compress against this mandrel, sort of like this. All right, it's going to kind of do that number and compress. and then we're going to give it some turns, and it's going to kind of scrape that forcing cone on the revolver. You have 3 crucial measurements on a revolver when it comes to accuracy and everything. And the thing is, if you end up having a forcing cone that squeezes the bullet down smaller than the bore diameter, which some revolvers, you know, they tend to want to squeeze a bullet smaller than the bore diameter, and those particular guns are not going to shoot well, okay, because you are going to get leading. Leading is primarily caused by an undersized bullet, and you get a phenomenon called gas cutting. And with gas cutting, what happens is those hot gases are actually escaping around the outside of the bullet as the bullet travels down the barrel, and it causes deposits of lead to be basically etched into the barrel, and they get taken off of the bullet and etched into the barrel. Gas checks are a device that a lot of people will run on the backside of their cast bullets to help alleviate any type of gas cutting. But the bottom line is if the bullet is undersized, it's still going to cut. And if it's going to cut, it's going to lead. Doesn't matter what alloy you use, doesn't matter how hard you're trying to push the bullet, an undersized bullet will always gas cut. All right? So the way that we clean that up, we're going to take our Lewis lead remover, put it down the barrel. All right, and this is, I'm working at kind of an odd angle. Normally what I would do is probably like try to chalk this up in the vise and hold it a little bit more, you know, stationary. But I'm just trying to demonstrate for you guys. You're going to take your pipe, your little pipe screen thing, put it on there, and you're basically going to come on here, thread it into place. All right, and you notice, okay. All right, and what we're going to do, thread her on there just like this. Now they give you like this little this little copper wire looking kind of jobber here. Use that to kind of tighten it. All right, so we're going to put it on there like this. We're going to run the T-handle down just like this and tighten it up. All right, meeting some resistance. Pull it out. Now what we do, we're going to force it into the forcing cone. Might have to pull kind of hard. And again, I would have this thing, you know, in a vise normally. We're going to pull it kind of hard and seat it. All right, I can feel that it stopped. So you see that the pipe screen is against the forcing cone, against the little mandrel, and it's tapered so it gets that same kind of curvature to it. We're going to give it a turn. Just like this. We're going to pull. I'm pulling and I'm turning, okay? But I've just got it where you can see it. You're not going to hurt the gun. On a severely leaded gun, this is going to help clean that forcing cone, give you a nice clean surface. All right, we can see that where the Lewis letter was pushed up against the forcing cone, we did draw out some small chunks of lead. You can see a little bit of gray there. Might be difficult to see, but right there you can see the gray that's on the forcing cone is where we've pulled that lead off, okay? So that's getting the lead out of the forcing cone. Now we're going to force one of these through the barrel, which basically you have a different mandrel for that. So you take your little copper wire, stick it through your little hole you've got right here, and then obviously you're going to reverse the direction, and it should loosen right up and unscrew. So we're going to take our T-handle off, okay? There's our forcing cone mandrel. You can see it's got some chunks of lead on it. Not much, but some lead, and that just gives you an idea there. All right, so same exact thing for the barrel, but this time, T-handle through the barrel. Okay, we're going to take a fresh pipe screen, and you can buy these little screens, and you can also clean them too. You know, you can just take them and rinse them off with water, clean them, off with a brush, whatever you want to do. All right, so same thing. Now the difference is this doesn't have a like cone-shaped mandrel on it. This is roughly 38 cal / 9 millimeter diameter, and it's kind of rubbery, so it allows it to kind of hold this pipe screen in kind of a tacky way, and it just forms kind of a good seal, and it pulls this pipe screen basically against the inside of the barrel, and it pulls all the leading out. And basically that screen is kind of capturing those little strips of lead and pulling them out of the barrel. That's how a Lewis letter works. Now, these Lewis lead removers are actually caliber specific, so you'll have to have different ones for different calibers. This one's set up for 9 and 357, you know, basically 38 cal. But you can get them for like 44 Magnum, 45. They work wonders on black powder. If you end up having a a breech-loading musket or something that happens to have maybe some bad leading in it, the Lewis de letter can also be used with maybe even a longer rod you might be able to get for it. Or I think they might make a rod attachment to put on your cleaning rod for some of the longer barrels and stuff. All right, so for the barrel, same exact thing. And remember, guys, while I'm doing this, the lead removing compound is still working on the Model 10 over there. We're just letting it sit. All right, so we're going to screw this down. Same exact thing. Once it gets to the point where I can't do it hand tight anymore, we just grab our little copper, little joker's hard to grab, but we grab our little copper tool. It's basically just a little piece of copper. Put it through the little hole here, and hopefully you can see that. That's just to allow you to screw and unscrew the tool on the tool holder here. All right, we're going to turn it clockwise until it tightens. Okay. Not firm or tight, guys. About right there, okay? All right, drop the tool handle. Now, this is the part where it can be kind of a bear. We are going to have to pull this thing pretty dang hard to get that pipe screen to compress against our little like rubber mandrel here. We're going to pull it through, and it's going to pull all kinds of nasty out of this gun. This one's not severely leaded, but this is just to kind of show you the principle of it. And remember, I would have this thing probably secured a little bit better, but I'm trying to demonstrate. All right, so you can see it's right there. We're going to give it a pull. Just like that. Okay, so it compressed the pipe screen, and you can see that there's definitely some chunks of lead right there. Now, it's not much lead, but if we visually look down the barrel, which I might even be able to get you a somewhat decent shot of this with a patch. All right, we take this patch. All right. You can see it did a pretty good job of pulling most of that out of there. There's still some darkness in the grooves that I don't necessarily think that it's lead per se. It probably just needs a good cleaning. But that should give you a pretty good idea and point you in the right direction. Now, if your cylinders, like say that you've got a 357 Magnum revolver and you're shooting a lot of cylinders or 38 Special and you're getting a lot of that kind of powder burns and scoring that can occur in the kind of jump that it has to make because it's a longer cylinder. Now, this is a 38 Special cylinder, but on a 357 Magnum, it's a little longer. And, you know, they always say that you should clean your 357 mag revolvers really well when you're running 38 Specials in them. That is true. You can also take this Lewis de letter and you can pull it through the cylinders as well to really scrub those cylinders and make sure you're not getting that scoring. What I like to do is have like a little brass brush like this on standby. And a lot of these revolvers, because of the way the gases expand out of the cylinder gap between the forcing cone and the cylinder gap, you actually have hot gases that expand and they can score these areas. So it's definitely not a bad idea to just kind of take and scrub it a little bit and clean that area as well when you happen to have the gun apart. So that's not really that big of a deal. That's pretty much the Lewis de letter in a nutshell. I could go into more detail, but it's really not necessary. That's pretty much the major principles of how that particular tool works. For getting the lead out, that's a way you can do it. So we're going to go back to our lead remover that we put on here. We're going to set the lead remover, Lewis lead remover, to the side for now. We're going to take our saturated patch off and put it somewhere safe. And we're going to take a dry patch and we're going to dry all of this lead remover out of this gun, out of our Model 10 that we saturated with the remover. So basically the lead remover is just meant to supplement your normal cleaning procedures. And once this stuff has done its job and it started to dissolve some of that lead, this substance actually dissolves the lead. So you basically have like liquefied lead remains all over your bench. Some of you may not be okay with that idea. I personally would prefer not to die of lead poisoning, but it's one of those things where you want to try to limit your lead exposure as much as you possibly can, obviously. I usually opt to use the Lewis lead remover more so than running something like the liquid type, but I wanted to discuss both methods because they do work now. I mean, this liquid lead remover, this stuff is scary how well it works. And in the big scheme of things, it's probably cheaper to use the liquid lead remover than it is the Lewis tool, just because you are dealing with such less material cost. You know, you're not running the pipe screens and all the other replaceable things that you have to keep buying. A jar of this stuff will last you a pretty good while. So just dry the lead remover out of the bore, and yeah, that Model 10, nice and clean. Okay, we had a relatively steady diet of ammo we put through this thing, and a lot of it was cast, and we did have some lead residue in the barrel. Look at that barrel. Cleaned up real nice. You can see our cylinders are nice and clean. And of course, I'll follow up with a normal cleaning. I'll hit this with a brush and then follow up with some patches and everything like that, and we're good to go. So that's pretty much getting lead out of a revolver in a nutshell. The same exact principle of using the pull-through method on the Lewis lead remover, you would do the exact same thing from the chamber end forward on a pistol barrel. So if you have a pistol barrel that's heavily leaded, this tool can be used in the exact same fashion. So we get a lot of questions about this subject, and also people wondering if there's specialized products. So there you go. There's your specialized products. I mean, the Lewis lead remover is a tool that's been around for a long time. Shooter's Choice has been doing this little lead removing substance for quite a while, and it does a pretty good job. So there's a couple of options there. There's also some homemade options for making your own lead removing agents. I wouldn't really recommend making your own. The chemicals are pretty caustic and definitely not good to breathe in the fumes that come off of those chemicals. And when you're dealing with dissolved lead and things like that, you definitely want to limit your exposure big time. You don't want to get that stuff on your skin because it will immediately absorb into your bloodstream, and that's a big no-no. Things like the Lewis lead remover, yes, you are being exposed to strips of lead, and I mean, shooting exposes you to lead, period. But with the Lewis lead remover, at least the lead is solid still. Where lead exposure is a real problem is in lead vapor. When lead is still in the air in vapor form and you breathe it in, that's when it can enter your system. Touching a piece of lead that's just an ingot or something, not quite the same exposure as breathing in lead or having dissolved lead in liquid form with something like this. So that's just something to keep in mind. Guys, thank you for watching today's video. I hope you learned something, and we've got many more gunsmithing videos on the way, and maybe this video pointed some of you in the right direction. Guys, have a good one. We'll catch you next time.